The Legend of Zylea. Long ago, many centuries before the woe of ruin, there were no traveling folk, for the blood touch had never manifested itself within any of the high races. But there came a day when the mother of all Hanatas was born. Her name was Zylea Aleana, and she was conceived in the coupling between an elven dancer named Kailani Aleana and an unnamed traveling jester. The two were said to have consorted on a warm spring eve some 2,000 years ago under the smiling light of a full-faced Luneos, which is the major moon of the world of Zyathé. 9 months later, on the 22nd day of the last month of the year, which is called Fool's Day, Zylea Aleana came into the world. If the tales be true, she was beautiful to behold, with an uncanny wit and a natural charm that could make the most surly king laugh till he cried. Her tricks were astounding and her jests greater than any comedic personage who had come before her. By the time she was just 16 years old, she was entertaining in the highest courts and playing on the grandest stages of the Eternic civilization. But Zylea had a secret that none save for her mother knew. Namely, that beneath her thick makeup and billowing clowny clothes, she had skin of reddish-orange, dark blue scales upon her back, and tiny horns beneath her hair. This secret was kept well for a number of years, until Saltruna Verdasan, one of the High Elven kings, determined that he would have Zylea for his own. He devised a plan to have the woman entertain in his court for the birthday of his brother. But this was just a ruse to bring her to his magnificent forest city and into his majestic cathedral in the trees. The night before she was to perform, the king made his way in secret to the guest suite in which Zylea was abiding. There, from a hidden niche, he watched her disrobe and bathe in the open pool in her chambers. As he regarded her, he was even more enraptured when he saw her exotic skin and beautiful shape gleaming in the moonlight. He then came forth from his place of hiding and exposed himself to her, his lusts inflamed, his desire for her greater than anything he had wished for in all his life. But Zylea rebuked Saltruna and slapped his face for taking such liberties. Ashamed, the king left her presence and retired to brood in his bedchambers, and to plot revenge upon the lass who had so belittled him in his own castle. Thus, on the night following, at the performance for Saltruna's brother, a stage hook chanced to catch upon Zylea's costume, tearing much of it from her body, exposing her secret for all the world to see. The king feigned aghast at the sight of her, and others in the audience followed suit, as they had been prepared to do by the king's order. A group of priests in the audience named her a demon, and she was cast from the courts, never to perform again. Indeed, her alien appearance marked her for all in the realm, and she was turned out of villages and towns wherever she traveled. Then one day, as Zylea walked alone on a road, hoping beyond hope that she could find welcome in the next town, an old man in a jester's hat, driving a colorfully painted wagon pulled by huge blue horses, came up beside her. Zylea regarded the wizened figure who held the reins and was taken aback at the brightness in his eyes and the warmth of his smile. The man asked if she would like a ride and did not seem at all bothered by her alien appearance. Zylea agreed, and the two rode together for over a year. 'Tis said that the old man told Zylea many things in their time together, for he was wise beyond wisdom. He spoke of life and love and purpose. He talked of the life song and the way of all things and the first flows of the Zyanthus, almost as if he had witnessed creation himself. He told Zylea she was special, that she would be the first of many, and that much depended upon her and upon those who would come after her. He even named her people, which are called the Hanatas, even to this day. The word has no translation in the tongue of the common speech, but some have said it means the fool's dance, while others say it refers to the last laugh in some great comedic performance. One day Zylea awoke to find that the old man had left. Sitting beside her were a necklace upon which hung the symbol of the god Jinx, a large leather-bound magical tome, and the jester's hat that the old man had worn. Nearby was the brightly painted wagon and the great blue horses that pulled it. Zylea donned the necklace and the hat and cracked open the tome. An inscription had been written on the inside of the cover. All it said was, "The greatest jest is yet to be played. Learn well your part." The tome was said to contain all the spells of the traveling folk, the methods for the crafting of their magical tents, the enchanted movements of their spell dancers, and the many incantations that create the phantasms and illusions that even today delight the crowds at carnivals. Zylea studied the tome intently, learning the conjurations and the magical dances while she crafted the first of the magical tents. Soon thereafter, people began to come to Zylea's camp, called by some unseen compulsion. Like her, these folk also had strange afflictions, deformities, and alien characteristics. And like her, those abnormalities had made them unwelcome in their hometowns. Over time, these folk built their own wagons, and together, the group traveled the roads of the grand civilization, hosting the first carnivals and beginning the legacy of the Hanatas. And it came to pass that Zylea discovered she had the power of divination, allowing her to peer into the future and see shades of that which was to be. She named this gift the Sight and began to use it for the benefit of her people. Some years later, just before the woe of ruin occurred, 'tis said that the old man came once again to Zylea, who was now of an advanced age. The old man guided her and the troop she oversaw to a remote and hidden valley in the northern reaches, far from where the great calamity would originate. There, the troop would survive the great destruction that followed, and in the aftermath, began to establish their place in the New World. In the years following the Woe of Ruin, it seemed that more folk than ever before were afflicted with the Blood Touch, and the one troop became two, and then three, and then several. Other troops were raised up on other continents as well, and the Hanatas people, though still ostracized from the general populations, achieved some measure of prosperity in the centuries that came afterward. In the year 222 SC, which is 222 years following the Woe of Ruin, Zylea was laid to rest in a secret shrine on the continent of Verdestia. Her writings and teachings, however, lived after her and have been preserved by the many Hanatas troops that travel the roads of the world.